Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to a new episode of Treasure Hunt. So, last time we spoke about the traits of the Da'i ilallah and some of the most important characteristics. Inshallah, today we'll continue with the same topic, the characteristics of the Da'iyah. I'd like to start with a very beautiful, very amazing trait that the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had. And according to Surah Al-Ahzab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة. Subhanallah, we have the best of example in the Messenger of Allah. And he was so compassionate, so loving, so merciful to his enemies. It is the characteristic of compassion. Let's see some examples, because we really have to ponder over and contemplate over these just situations and actions, because it's, subhanallah, you read the seerah and you read his actions and you see, try to visualize what he used to do, and you compare that to the condition of the ummah nowadays, and you feel really sad because we have gone so far away from these teachings, from these prophetic teachings. Compassion, which means to love people, and it is one of the attributes of Allah the Almighty, Al-Wadud, the all-loving. The Prophet ﷺ, he loved everyone, including his enemies, and he was so eager, he was so keen on conveying the message of Islam even to the worst enemies. And you'll find that, according to the scholars, that he's gone to Abu Jahl, the Fir'aun of this ummah, the Pharaoh of this ummah, of this nation. As the Prophet ﷺ said in a very famous hadith, that for every nation there is a Pharaoh, meaning, just a great figure of evilness. Like, he is the enemy who actually strives to destroy the followers of Islam in this nation. And of course, we believe that all prophets and messengers, they came with the same message, the message of Islam, but people later on, they named it, they gave it labels. So he was, and he said, and the Pharaoh of this nation, because if you remember, the Pharaoh of Moses, he tried to destroy Musa alayhi salam, and he tried to destroy the Israelites who followed him, because at that time, they, of course, they were Muslims, and they denied and they refused to worship Pharaoh and believe that he's God or divine, or to follow the ancient Egyptian religion. So, and he said, the Pharaoh of this nation is Abu Jahl. Yet we'll find that despite of all the harm that Abu Jahl has caused to the Prophet ﷺ personally, and to this nation, or to the Sahaba, the early followers of Islam, he was so keen on giving him da'wah. He went to him multiple times, and he prayed actually for his guidance. So another example, and this hadith is authentic, and it describes how merciful. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, we have to really pay attention to this hadith and to this story and to take it to heart, because it's just amazing how the Prophet ﷺ defined that my relationship as a Muslim with the rest of the world, and how much I should care. Not just care about my Muslim brothers and sisters, but care about every living soul. As when the Prophet ﷺ was in Medina, he was sitting down with his companions. A funeral passed by, a funeral of a Jewish person. And as you know, reading the seerah, you'll find that there was a lot of conflict between the pagan Arabs, the inhabitants of Al-Medina, prior to Islam. I'm talking about like prior to Islam, Al-Aws wal-Khazraj, or the Arabs who occupied Medina or inhabited Medina, with the Jews, because at that time the Jews actually controlled their economy, and they really pretty much put them in a very tough position, and so that just brought lots of grudges in the middle between both communities. And the Arabs considered the Jews to be their enemies, because they would give them loans, and if they don't pay it on time, they would enslave them, and so on and so forth. Add to that controlling their water sources and controlling their economy. So the Arabs had, as they say, like bad blood. Even after becoming Muslim, Al-Aws al-Khazraj, now that they are Muslims and they're not any longer, pagans, they still that shadow of that experience was still on their minds, and they still did not like the Jews. And add to that, of course, the conflict that happened in Medina between the Muslims and the Jewish community, which resulted in wars at certain times. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was sitting down with his companions, and that Jewish funeral passed by. And the Prophet ﷺ did something very surprising that shocked, it just stunned the Sahaba who were sitting down around him. He stood up out of respect, and he wept. He cried. Subhanallah. The Sahaba, they told him, "O Messenger of Allah, he's just a Jewish man." But the Prophet ﷺ looked at them and taught them a lesson that will never be forgotten. Taught him something that will stay and remain in his legacy forever, and will remain as one of the greatest lessons that his followers should learn from. He said, "Nafsun tafallathat min yadi ila an-nar," and which translates as, "It is a soul that slipped out of my hand into the hellfire." And subhanAllah, that verb he used, tafallatat, meaning that he was trying to grab it so hard. He was holding fast to it. Really hard, like someone who's trying to grab something really hard, but it just slipped and he couldn't control it any longer. He tried his very best, but he couldn't control it. That shows you what kind of character he was. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My brother, my sister, do not look at the Muslim community as your only community. Do not look at the Muslim brothers and sisters as they are the only ones I should care about, and the rest I should not even consider. I'll give you an example. One time I was attending a conference in Texas, in Houston. It was actually Imam's conference. I believe it was about maybe like 5 or 6 years back. And I was approached by a non-Muslim who saw us, me and other Imams, dressed up into the gown that Imams usually wear, and he was able to easily recognize that we are Muslims. And he told me, "Assalamu alaikum." So I said, "Wa alaikum assalam," with a big smile on my face, and I welcomed him. "Please sit down. What's your name?" So he gave me his name and everything, and he told me, "I love Islam. I love Muslims, but I'm not a Muslim, and I really like the way how you received me." And it really just stabbed my heart. An experience that he just said that he told me, like, I was really saddened by an experience that I had with two members of your community here in Houston. He said that I approached this couple, and I told them, "Assalamu alaikum." So they said, "Wa alaikum salam," and they were so welcoming. They're smiling. They're just very, very nice to this person. And they started speaking to him, and they told him, how long you've been a Muslim and this and that, and they started having a conversation. So the man told him, "I'm actually not a Muslim." So he told me, as soon as I said that, their faces just changed. They frowned, and the nice treatment, it ended immediately right there. And he said, "They treated me so differently." And I see this example across the world. And I'm just telling you, brothers and sisters, look at how much compassion the Prophet ﷺ had. Look at how much the Prophet ﷺ cared about non-Muslims. In another narration, which is authentic as well, he says, "Man aada mu'ahadan وفي رواية أخرى معاهدا فأنا خصيمه يوم القيامة ومن قتل معاهدا أو معاهدا فلا يشم رائحة الجنة. He says that whoever hurts a mu'ahid here, or mu'ahid, which there are two different narrations, it means a non-Muslim who has a treaty with the Muslims, whether he is a citizen of the Muslim land or he's not. But basically a person that we have, that who's not a combatant, like he's not a fighter, he's not coming to my land to fight me, but he came, and he's peaceful, or he's living in my land and he's peaceful and part of my society. But he's a non-Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ, he warns, and he gives such a severe warning to any Muslim who thinks of bothering this member or this visitor by saying, if you hurt such person, such non-Muslim, such peaceful non-Muslim, I will be against you on the day of judgment. The Prophet ﷺ will prosecute you himself. And he said, and whoever sheds his blood, whoever kills him, he will not smell the aroma of paradise. He will not smell the aroma of paradise. Can you imagine? I mean, the Quran, the Sunnah, they are full of ahadith and verses like this that really stresses the importance of being kind. لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين. Inshallah, we'll explain this verse next time, and inshallah ta'ala we'll be able together to learn how to show justice and kindness to our fellow brothers and sisters in humanity and help them understand Islam, whether they believe in it or not. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.